Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble, and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903.
As a constitutional law attorney, former senior legal advisor, and personal counsel to President Donald J. Trump, Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And she's ready to tackle the big cultural and legal issues facing America. This is the Jenna Ellis Show. Here is your host, Jenna Ellis.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Jenna Ellis Show. I'm Jenna Ellis, and today, of course, we have to cover the Elon Musk effect. So a lot of changes coming to Twitter. Some of them are really great. Some of them the left isn't so excited about. Well, why is that? Well, of course, Elon Musk is simply leveling the playing field. He is for a free marketplace of ideas. Now, that doesn't mean that he's conservative or he's supporting all of the Republican candidates. It simply means that he understands that candidates should not be suppressed or censored simply because they're Republican. Now, of course, the Democrats are crying foul, but too bad for them. This is a good thing to make sure that the free marketplace of ideas and genuine conversation can continue to happen. So yesterday, my good friend Mark Fincham, who is running for Arizona Secretary of State, sent out a newsletter and an email saying that he had been suspended and his account had been put into read-only mode. That's happened to me as well when the leftists who previously controlled Twitter, and apparently there are still some of these people embedded in Twitter and making some decisions about accounts, will go in and find a tweet that they think violates hate speech or the terms and service of Twitter. And so they will place your account in read-only mode. So it looks like it's still active, but you can't tweet, you can't direct message, you can't like, you can't retweet, you can't do anything. So it looks like you are just simply not tweeting. So Mark Fincham sent out an email to all of his followers, and I got this email and said, hey, this is a week before the election. He didn't even know what tweet was the offensive tweet. He simply knew that his account was placed in read-only mode. So I, along with a few other people, posted a screenshot and tagged Elon Musk. And Elon, thankfully, and I'm very grateful, replied to that tweet and said, I'll look into it. And 45 minutes later, Mark Fincham's account was restored to full functionality. And of course, the left is now saying, look at Elon Musk. He's endorsing all these candidates and, this right-wing super election denier, Mark Fincham. And they're totally panicking. Well, first of all of those kinds of name calling, totally not true about Mark Fincham. He still just wants to follow the law like he always has. He's been a representative in the state House of Arizona for 8 years. He's running for Secretary of State simply to make sure that election administration is following the law. He's going to join me in a few minutes to explain further why he's running for Secretary of State. But the other thing that's so important about this story, not only to show how Twitter is now becoming a level playing field thanks to Elon Musk, but it's also showing the truth about what the Democrats are trying to manipulate with this platform, because they are accusing Elon Musk by simply saying, hey, a candidate for public statewide office should not have his account suppressed or censored a week before the election, now translates into somehow Elon is endorsing anything about any of these specific GOP candidates. That's ridiculous. But the left expects that they will have censorship and suppression against their opposition, and that they will have a leg up on social media, because that's how these platforms historically have always been run. And we're seeing more and more evidence of that come out. In fact, Elon himself posted screenshots from people inside Twitter that were acknowledging that they were doing exactly what Elon had accused them of doing. We're seeing that some of these depositions that are now going to happen with the Attorney General Eric Schmidt of Missouri and Jeff Landry in Louisiana, that are suing the Biden administration for essentially telling these platforms what content to moderate and what to label misinformation, and how they're directing these platforms to suppress content and suppress users' opinions and the truth of that reality. And so as we're learning more about this, all that Elon Musk is doing, at least as far as I have seen so far, is simply saying, wait a minute, we can't treat a Democrat candidate with more preference than a Republican candidate. And we can't suspend someone like Mark Fincham for absolutely no reason a week before the election. But historically, if Elon had not taken over Twitter, what would have happened is that Mark Fincham would have been suspended for no reason at all. The mainstream media would have grasped onto that story and said, look, he's full of hate speech, he's anti-Semitic, he's racist, whatever they want to say. And they would have said, look, this is an election denier and he is a bad candidate, don't vote for him. And they would have used that suspension and that censorship to have negative media on Mark Fincham. But Elon Musk is totally changing the narrative. He is shining a light of truth on what the leftist liberals are doing to manipulate outcomes of elections by absolutely trafficking in their own type of misinformation on Twitter. So I am very grateful to Elon Musk for leveling the playing field. And it doesn't matter whether the Democrats are crying foul and they're so mad that now somehow they feel like they're at a disadvantage because the playing field is actually being leveled. It's just showing that they're now going to have to defend their own candidates and their own policies and their own ideas in a free marketplace of ideas. So I'm really grateful. And one last thing before Mark Fincham joins is that there's been a lot of concern and speculation and rumors about who will be let back on the platform and whether or not President Trump will come back to the platform. And now this whole idea about paying for blue check marks. So I think that there's a lot of great ideas that Elon has. It will remain to be seen how exactly those are implemented. He has said on Twitter very publicly and openly, which I appreciate because then everyone can comment on it and give ideas, that he's going to look at every account that has been suspended for what he said, vague or dubious or ridiculous reasons, and reinstate some of those accounts. And the whole idea of blue check verification is to make sure that people don't impersonate public figures. Obviously, you wouldn't want to have someone on Twitter who has a blue check verification mark and claims to be Donald Trump when they're really not. So how that's going to work with this sort of pay for play subscription system that he announced today, which is that you can pay $8 and have any account verified, how that's actually going to work with genuine accounts that are individuals who are public figures or publishers or platforms, or these types of accounts that actually represent certain individuals or entities versus people who are these impersonation accounts or not high profile, really remains to be seen. I'm concerned with this whole idea of an $8 subscription for a blue check, that if you can simply verify any account, how are we going to make sure that the verification system genuinely is verification of the individual? I don't want, for example, a bunch of people out there pretending to be me and saying, hey, I have a blue check. And then all of a sudden people are attributing to me comments or ideas or statements that I didn't make, or people are confused as to which account is genuinely mine or not. So I think all of those ideas Elon is going to have to sort through. But the great thing about him is that he's a great entrepreneur. He understands that free speech matters, the free marketplace of ideas matters, and he wants to make sure that Twitter is an open platform that does not prefer the elitist establishment, Democrats or Republicans for that matter, and wants to make sure that everyone's voice is heard. That's a very good thing. Inflation is making life harder for all of us. Many Americans are living paycheck to paycheck while seniors are struggling to survive on fixed incomes. It can feel hopeless, but don't panic. Take action and join AMAC. My friends at AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, can and will save you money. 2.3 million freedom-loving Americans have already joined AMAC, and you should too. Membership comes with amazing benefits like discount on travel, restaurants, and cell phone service. Plus, anyone can join. AMAC does much more than offer senior discounts. AMAC Action takes the challenges against our Constitution and a free market straight to Capitol Hill every day. Joining is easy. Just go to amac.us/Ellis, ELLIS. I've told you before that AMAC fights for America. Become a member today and save money while supporting conservative causes. Go to amac.us/Ellis now. It's only $16 per year. So join or renew today at amac.us/ELLIS. So joining me now is the man himself and the man of the hour, Representative Mark Fincham, who is running for Arizona Secretary of State. So Mark, thanks so much for joining me. And this has been kind of a bizarre about 12 hours since your suspension yesterday. So walk me through it, because obviously I saw your email. I saw the fact that you were suspended, and the rest is now, of course, making the leftists cry and scream but what exactly happened to even get you suspended in the first place?
That's a great question. I don't know. Apparently there was something that they didn't like about, I guess we called out Hunter's laptop. I called out the manipulation of information in front of the voters. I don't know what tweet actually triggered this boob that works for Twitter to put us in Twitter jail. But it was very interesting. It was almost this snarky kind of statement. Well, typically people are reinstated within a week or longer. And I'm like, well, okay, we're a week away from the election. Wow, kind of suspicious timing there, if you want to call it that. But then we put out the mailer, and you apparently saw it and just said, "Hey, Elon, we're going to let this stand." And I'm so thankful that within a very, very short period of time, perhaps minutes, he said, "I'll look into it." And 45 minutes later, we're back up. And now, because he sent it, I guess, to all 144 million people that follow him, we've gone from 51,000 followers on Twitter to 72,006, and we're picking up about 100 an hour.
That's amazing.
Which is interesting, because we know that a large number of voters who are independents are still on Twitter. Most Republicans, they might watch it, but they don't really participate, because they just know that if they say something, they're going to be banned or shadow banned. Or I'm not hip with the lingo, quite frankly. I don't do a lot out on Twitter. We just put a message out every so often. But it's interesting to me to see how all of a sudden people are coming alongside the idea that Elon Musk took action. The reason that he bought or took over, however it happened, Twitter, was to make change and to make sure that people's thumb of influence was not on the scales of election justice, particularly in a time where we're exchanging ideas. We're supposed to be in the arena of ideas, not name calling. Right. And I'm just excited that here this guy did what he said he would do.
Right. And this is so amazing, Mark. And I think it's backfiring really hardcore on the leftists, because someone in Twitter, and we don't know who it is, suspended you for some reason. And it's shocking, actually, that they didn't even tell you which tweet was allegedly offensive and even give you the opportunity to delete it, to reinstate your account. And the timing, of course, is suspicious with just this 1 week. But now that Elon rightly got involved, you have this effect where a lot of attention now nationally. I've seen a ton of articles articles from Newsweek to, the people whining over at MSNBC who are saying, look at Elon helping this candidate. And yet that's not at all what he was doing. He's simply
That's right.
leveling the playing field. It's not like he's endorsed you or he's telling people to go follow you. He simply rightly recognized that a candidate for statewide office a week before the election shouldn't be banned or suspended on Twitter. And that, in the eyes of the leftists, is somehow an endorsement. I think that's ridiculous.
Well, they've owned the playing field now, even since before President Trump was elected. They basically have told anybody that doesn't think the way they do to sit down and shut up. Well, you know me well enough by now. Mark Fincham is not going to sit down and shut up. When I see something wrong, I'm going to speak about it. And if they don't like it, I'm glad that we now have a champion, if you will, in the social media sphere to set a new example. Hey, far left fringe, you don't own this space. And quite frankly, these providers, application providers, are treading on very dangerous ground right now, because there are many legislatures around the country that are ready to make them regulated public utilities. So that's going to be a war. Mm-hmm. And I think that Elon Musk took a courageous step and simply said, that's not how I'm going to run my business. Yeah. We are going to see to it that everybody has a voice, not just some people. So it's to your point. He's not helping anybody. What he's doing is taking the jackboot off of the neck of everybody that doesn't agree with the fringe left.
Right. And isn't it amazing that the left is now crying foul simply because he is just leveling the playing field? And rather than them expecting and anticipating that the status quo means favoritism toward Democrats and this treatment and suppression and censorship of conservatives, now that that is not happening, somehow they're screaming that this isn't okay and this is him endorsing candidates, when he's simply saying, listen, everybody should be able to participate in this platform, and everyone, regardless of party, needs to be able to have their voices heard, especially candidates. I think it's very not only fascinating, but also really a great step for democracy, which, these Democrats continue to say, well, we're for protecting democracy. And yet when he wants to protect candidates' accounts to make sure that you aren't suspended or suppressed a week before the election, now they can't handle it. This is a new era. And so as you're a week out from the election, how is this looking for you? And how has this now focus and attention on your account on Twitter actually helped and changed the game?
Well, I think that where we're at right now is we're seeking to essentially find independent voters in the spaces where they feel comfortable, and we want to talk to them. We want to tell them what our message is. And what I find exciting about this current development is that now we've got the attention of the independent voter, who might not have believed that there was a problem. Well, with what Elon Musk did, he showed that there indeed is a problem, and it's not going to persist on my watch. So I think that the move was very helpful in the exchange of ideas, so that people can compare me with the opposition, Adrian Fontes. They're going to understand that I'm standing for one simple notion, and that is to hold everyone accountable to just follow the law. Hard stop.
Yeah. And isn't that amazing that the left doesn't want to do that? I mean, talking about election deniers and election suppression and all this other stuff, you are running for Secretary of State, which that office is supposed to administer elections according to state law without bias or favor to one party or another. But now these leftists are trying to say that any GOP candidates that are running for Secretary of State in some very critical states, well, you're just the election deniers. You were a super election denier, according to one news outlet, just because you're part of the GOP and you want to make sure that elections are administered fairly. That message, I think, is getting so warped in terms of how the left is projecting that. But people are finally breaking through that, and they're seeing that that is a false narrative. And
That's
to
right.
say that somehow election denier translates into someone who simply wants free and fair elections, people are seeing through that, and they're seeing how the Democrats just want to own these public offices so that they can manipulate elections.
Yeah, they want a one-party system. So let's go back to 2016. You want election deniers? Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, Eric sleeping with the enemy Swalwell. All of those individuals in 2016 were election deniers. Amazing what happens 4 years later. Suddenly, everything's fine. Well, I'm here to tell you, I'm a skeptic about everything, not just elections. I'm a skeptic about government intervention in our finances. I'm a skeptic about why do we have to have 87,000 new IRS agents. I'm a skeptic about everything. So if that's in my nature, what, you expect me to turn that off when we see all kinds of violations of Arizona revised statutes that make many of the votes that were cast in 2020 outside of the law? Now, I don't give a bloody darn what Mark Brnovich thinks. He's a disgraced, inactive attorney general showing up on 60 Minutes and wants to call me a clown. Hey, Mark, you've got a mountain of evidence sitting in your office that you've done absolutely nothing with. That is a disgrace. It's maladministration. And quite frankly, I think your posture on 60 Minutes was nothing more than a defense. You're trying to defend the fact that you've done nothing. Well, that's going to change next week when we clean house. The Arizona voters have got the opportunity to clean house and see to it that they have people who have a bias for action as opposed to, well, you know, we have to we got to protect the Republican Party. We have to protect the brand. No. If you break the law, I don't care what party you're a member of. We are going to have election justice in this state before I leave office.
And that is fantastic. And I know that you have been a champion for election integrity in the state house. And of course, you were part of that legislative hearing that, of course, I was part of, and, you know, just questioning whether or not there were votes that, as you said, fell outside of the law and shouldn't have been counted, or votes that, of course, were cast legally and should be counted. I mean, that is our system for elections. And so as the new Secretary of State, which I firmly believe that you will be next week, and that will be amazing, what things in Arizona should change and need to change in terms of election administration?
Well, at a broad level, we need to make sure that we count only legal votes. We don't count votes that are disqualified because they haven't signed the affidavit on a mail-in vote. Things such as when we see mules stuffing large numbers of ballots into a ballot box, perhaps somebody should take a moment and quarantine that box and make sure that every one of those votes was actually cast by the person with their name on the envelope. These are common sense things. We want to make sure that if there is fraud that is found, that it's prosecuted. We want to make sure that we have systems that are reliable. And that means if we can't inspect the software, if we can't know for a fact that the county officials have a higher level of security than the elections machine vendors, well, now we've got a problem, because that means that an unaccountable, unelected private contractor has a greater level of authority over elections than the representative that was elected by the people. We can't have that. We cannot have that. And then, of course, you know, simple things like watermarks on ballots so that we can spot the fakes, the frauds, the things that are happening in subsurface. We want to know how many ballots are there in the election system before the election. What a novel idea that we'd actually have a system with an audit trail. Because right now, the Maricopa County recorder is got, apparently he doesn't know what an audit trail is, because they've obliterated that with the fact that you've got individuals who have access to the system with the same username and password as everybody else. That defeats the whole idea of an audit trail. So as Secretary of State, there are going to be some changes. And number one amongst them is we're going to have an updated elections procedure manual that everybody will follow. And that is in furtherance of the law. The legislature will have the opportunity, just like they're supposed to approve it. The new Attorney General, Abe Hamadeh, He'll have the opportunity to examine it and prove it. And then we're going to go to town on making sure that every single individual, regardless of party, has the opportunity to compete in the arena of ideas.
And Mark, everything that you just said was not Republican or Democrat. Everything that you just said was 100% nonpartisan and was 100% voter focused. And for all of the leftists that claim that the GOP is all about voter suppression and, all of these things that will discourage people from voting and will disenfranchise voters, they are lying. They are manipulating the narrative. And everything that you just said is for every single voter who wants their vote to count and who wants their vote to not be diluted with votes that were cast illegally outside of the law. That's what that means. It doesn't necessarily mean the person themselves were illegal. But if I try to vote in my home state of Colorado outside of the system established by the state legislature, my vote shouldn't count, right? Even though if I cast my vote as a registered citizen able to vote in my state, I still have to follow the process. And that's just fairness for everyone. And yet it's only one party. It's only the Democrats that don't want these types of common sense measures. They don't want a process. They don't want audits. They don't want accountability. They don't want transparency. Why?
Well, there's a certain segment of the Republican Party that doesn't want it either. And I think that part of that ends up being we saw this in Florida, actually, over the weekend. I was in Florida, in Orlando, for the election integrity forum that they had there. Half of the panel was Democrats. These are individuals who caught the system with ballot brokers. They caught people in the system, and this has been going on for decades in Orange County, apparently. But they caught them essentially selling offices. Isn't that an amazing thing? Oh, but it doesn't happen, right? No, I disagree with that. You've got power brokers who want to make sure that they possess power that, quite frankly, wasn't given to them by the voters. And I find that repugnant. I want to make sure that the voters actually have the ultimate say in an election, not individuals who would collect up ballots and vote for them, see to it that some ballots might be shaved off because, they didn't quite make it into the system, or that illegal ballots that were collected, harvested, and voted for the person in exchange for a pizza, that's got to come to an end. And I'm glad to see that we had some Democrats and Republicans that called that out in Florida over the weekend. We've got the same thing going on here in Arizona, and I dare say that probably happens in every single state. Those people's days are numbered. We are going to find you. We are going to tear that part of the system down. And I'm going to press the Attorney General, Abe Hamadeh, to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. We've got to get a handle on, because after being in the legislature for 8 years, I've come to realize, it took a little while, there's a reason we pass laws. It's so that everybody knows what the rules are. And there's a reason that those laws have consequences for not following them. It's a simple concept. Fraud vitiates everything. If you commit a fraud, you're not going to be counted. And we've got to get to that place so that we restore confidence in elections.
Yeah, so well said. So well said, Mark. And it seems like that should be so easy that in the United States of America, because we the people get to select and prefer our leaders through our vote and through participation in the franchise of voting, that we need to make sure that the rules are fair, they're uniform, they're administered properly according to state law, and that in the United States of America, we have a much better system than a third world country that installs different people into office. Yeah. That is not the United States of America. And you're right, it doesn't matter whether it's the Republican Party or the Democrat Party that wants to circumvent the rules, find loopholes, doesn't like certain areas of transparency. It doesn't matter, because elections in this country are not supposed to be designed to favor one type of political party or operative over another. It's designed so that we, the people, can genuinely choose our leadership. And so I'm so thankful that you are running for Secretary of State. I have, of course, endorsed you. You've been a great friend of mine for the last few years. So full transparency on my end for everyone listening. Mark Fincham is the best. If you live in Arizona, I hope that you get out and vote for him. But I also want to say thank you so much to Elon Musk, who is leveling the playing field so that we can have these types of conversations on Twitter. And the Democrats, they can prop up their candidate and they can campaign as hard as they want to, and they'll have to defend their ideas now in a free marketplace of ideas. And
That's
we
exactly
know
right.
that conservatives' ideas will always win out because we have the truth, we have fairness, we have the Constitution, and we have the law behind us. And so for people who want to look at all of these candidates, I hope that you will see that this type of now non-suppression and kind of taking those clamps off of Twitter is a good thing for everyone, regardless of candidate, regardless of party. So keep speaking truth, Mark Fincham. Where can people find you? Of course, go to @realmarkfincham on Twitter now that you're back on, but where can people find you and find your campaign, donate and support you?
Well, they can go to votefincham.com. It's VOTE, F like Frank, IN like Nancy, CHE like Edward, M like Mark.com. And if you would, please send me the link for this broadcast and I'll make sure that it makes our newsreel. But you can also place do a little click on the donate button. We still have to raise campaign funds. In fact, you know, as much as people complain about, well, the cost of campaigns is so high. Well, it's Biden inflation as part of it, but we've still got to pay to get out into the media sphere so that our message can get out. Every single dollar is going to getting the message out about how we're going to hold people accountable to just follow the law.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can't wait until you are the Secretary of State in Arizona, and I hope that elections across the country will see a red wave and see a return to simply, as you said, following the law. So I hope that everyone gets out and votes on November 8th, a week from today, and we see some real change in this country, not just for election integrity, but also for simply following the law. So, Mark Fincham, congratulations on your Twitter reinstatement, and thanks so much for joining me today, my friend.
Thank you, Jenna. I appreciate the time.
Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis, and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble, and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903.
MyPillow is having their biggest sheet sale of the year. You all have helped build MyPillow into the amazing company that it is today. Now, Mike Lindell, the inventor and CEO, wants to give back exclusively to you, his listeners. The Percale bed sheet set is available in a variety of colors and sizes, and they are all on sale. So, for example, the queen size is regularly priced at $89.98, but is now only $39.98 with our listener promo code Jenna, Jenna. So order now, because when they're gone, they're gone. The Percale bed sheets are breathable and have a cool and crisp feel. These come with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee, so don't miss out on this incredible offer. There's a limited supply, so be sure to order now. You can call 1-800-564-8475 and use the promo code Jenna, or go to mypillow.com/Jenna. You can click on the radio listeners square and use the promo code Jenna. That's Jenna. Thank you so much to all of Mike Lindell's listeners and listeners of this podcast for making sure to support MyPillow and using our exclusive listener promo code Jenna. That's Jenna.